Okay. Howdy, everybody. Welcome back once again. I'm Nicodemus Kane, and we're going to have a talk today. It is, what is it, June 27th? It's 5:10 p.m. Angie went out to celebrate her little brother's birthday, so I've got the house all to myself, and I told you guys in the last video that I was going to be making just a little video concerning giants. Because I saw a video, I said I was going to start moving away from current events and kind of start getting back into, the stuff that I was looking at before, Nephilim, giants, the flood, things, pre-flood, things like that. I can't really do much, as much as I used to, because, we are on overtime at work, and I'm not reading as much as I used to be able to. An hour-long lunch, you used to be able to sit down and read a lot. Here, I have so many other things that I'm doing. So, just trying to keep my sanity to myself. So, I don't really get to read as much as I used to. But the things that I did read, the things that brought me to the dance, of course, the Bible. We'll talk about the Bible. But these books, all of these books, got the Book of Giants, and you've got Book of Jubilees, it's the Book of Enoch. This is my big phone book of Jasher. My phone book of Jasher. Get it? I've got my little Apocrypha, and this is Josephus. There's not much in here. As you can see, I haven't read the whole thing. I got to a point, I've still got a lot of that book left to go. Josephus is kind of I don't want to say it's a hard read, but it's not the easiest read in the world. I can tell you that much right now. But it is interesting to see the Bible from a first century Jewish perspective. It is pretty interesting to see that. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to talk about any of these. We're going to use just the Bible, because what I saw was, it was a video of a guy that he had prepared it as, were the Nephilim, who were the Nephilim, who were the sons of God, what were the giants, what was all this, and the way that he presented it, he presents it pretty well, that you're thinking, oh, he's going to talk about the giants. Who were they? What were they? How did they do this? But when you get into it, the first thing he does is shoot down the sons of God. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, the sons of God comes from the very early on in the book. I will go ahead and take you there. We should be here. This is Genesis 6. This is, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of thunder, that's for all you guys that have seen Airheads, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all they chose. So, sons of God. And this guy, he dissected it. He said, okay, everybody says the sons of God, that could be the angels, and then he takes that and he goes around to the sons of God from Job. Do I have that in this? No, I do not. I would have to seriously go through Job and find it. It's towards the end of it. Where were you when the sons of God or something like that were singing, or the morning stars were singing and the sons of God or something like that? Referring to the fact that there were sons of God before the creation, something along those lines. I don't remember exactly what it was. I'm not going to talk about that. You can go on your own field trip and talk about the sons of God all you want. I'm not going to, you figure it out, because this guy was doing some gymnastics, and he made me think. And, he really made me think about this. He the way he presented it, and he was using, there's another one from, where's it at? I gotta pull up my notes. I don't think I even wrote it down. Yeah, I didn't write it down what he said, but he was pulling it from the New Testament, and he was saying that there's a reference to the sons of God, that we are all the sons of God, not the angels. That we, because we're supposedly, we're lesser than the angels, but we're not the sons. We are the sons of God. The angels are not the sons of God because they were created differently and all this other kind of stuff, and the whole thing. And then it gets in. Then he got into the whole, the sons of Seth are the people that are the sons of God, because when you take the word Nephilim, um, it refers to the fallen ones. And of course, the sons of Seth were supposedly the good bloodline. They were the fallen ones of God's bloodline, and they went and were created with the women, yada, yada, yada. I think that even says that in here. Yeah, like I said, we'll go back to this. Why not? We'll go back to this. And then the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all they chose. And then the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. So is he talking about the sons of Seth there, or is he talking about the sons of God? Now, that's an argument for another time. I'm not going to get into that. Because when you start getting into that, it's like I said, it's some serious mental gymnastics. And I was like, okay, if they're the sons of Seth, then it's like Rob Skiva says, kissing cousins don't make 50-foot tall monsters. It just doesn't happen. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's fine. Now, on that same token, I am one that believes that everything before the flood was way bigger than it should be. There has been proof of dragonflies that were something like 4 feet long, 4-foot long wingspans on a dragonfly. A dragonfly is about that big. Dragonfly is about that big. Wingspan is probably about that big. And you're talking about going from this big to 4 feet. Let's see, that's 6 feet. So probably about this. I can't even fit it into the thing. It's probably about this long. You think a dragonfly that big, man? You see that son of a bitch coming at you, you're gonna run. But I know I've talked about it before on the channel in another video about how, if the dragonflies were that big, and I've talked about giant trees before. We'll get into that. And I've talked about everything else being bigger than it is. Then why couldn't people be bigger than that? I mean, you've got lizards that. Oh, I'm about ready to sneeze. Every time. Does it not fail? I think the video last night I didn't sneeze, or I didn't have any problems until the very end. But we talk about lizards. That lizards just constantly grow, and if you're inside of a highly oxygenated environment where there were no chemicals, no dirty, nasty nothings in there, where it was this perfect world, this perfect bio environment. We're not even going to get into the enclosed bio environment. You can see where I'm going with it, but I'm trying not to go there just yet. But if you're in this perfect enclosed environment and it's highly oxygenated, purely highly oxygenated, everything's going to be bigger than it is. You got trees, plants, animals, everything's going to be way bigger than it is. So why can't man be bigger than it is? I absolutely say that, Adam and Eve, when they were created, they could very well have been 20, 30 feet tall. It's possible. It's very possible. One of the things that this guy was saying was that the phrase, there were giants on the earth in those days, and also after that, let's go and look at that. I wish I knew the better way of switching between the two. I don't know how to do it. I don't know anything about this stuff. But here, Genesis 6:4, there were giants in the earth on those days, and also after that, when the sons of God, get out of here. What is this thing? This is new. Why is this here? This has never appeared on my thing before. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, and the same became mighty men, of which were of old, men of renown. Now, if you read that, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of men. There were giants in the earth in those days, and it's got the semicolon here, which means that it's continuing the thought, but it's taking a second. These are two complete sentences on their own, but they got put together. There were giants on the earth in those days. Could be a period. But, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men. And also after that, and if the comma wasn't there, you could read it as one sentence. And also after that, when the sons of God came in. But it says, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men. Now, are we doing proper English here? The old school English? Are we doing proper old school punctuation English? Or are we doing, let me make sure okay. Or are we doing, what we know as just reading English? There were giants on the earth in those days. Stop. That sets the precedence. And also after that, stop. When the sons of God. It kind of works both ways. And when he showed this to me, I kind of stopped and said, well, that doesn't disagree with what I know. It's like I said, everything before the flood would have been highly oxygenated. It would have been crazy. It would have been a world beyond your wildest imaginations. But when the flood happened, something changed in the environment. Everything started getting smaller. There was less oxygen. I think it was Kent Hovind is one of them that comes up with the whole thing where, when the waters ruptured up from the seabeds, you have these sulfur pockets on the seafloor that still spouts all kinds of crap out into the air. They're spouting out nitrogen, they're spouting out carbon dioxide, they're spouting out sulfur. They're spouting out all this crap from the bottom of the seabed, and all this stuff is getting up in our atmosphere. And I even heard somebody else had mentioned that because these things are constantly churning this stuff out, that if you give us another 2,000-3,000 years, the air will be unbreathable for us. We will adapt to it eventually. Human beings will adapt to it eventually, but all of this stuff, if it keeps spurting out from the earth, then it will become unbreathable. People now won't be able to stand it. Put it that way. So if that's what's been happening, then something happened during the flood. Something changed. Something popped. Something opened up. Maybe God decided that this is the way he wanted it to be. But he kept that remnant of the giants ideal in our head to show us that there is something more supernatural and big going on here than we could ever possibly know. So, this works both ways. There were giants on the earth in those days. And you could even say, and also after that, get rid of that. There were giants on the earth in those days when the sons of God came in. Because, like I said, it's connecting the sentences. But there were giants on the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in. It could also be, they were there before, but then they were there when the sons of God came in. So it works both ways. I don't know. I'm not gonna say either way, because this is new information for me, and it works both ways, and it could be either way. I'm not going to argue the whole Sons of Seth thing, because, quite frankly, like I said, these guys were creating monsters. big monsters, not just 10-foot tall giants. The guy I was watching was trying to say, Goliath was only like 9 feet tall, and Og was only about 10 feet tall, and they're not that tall because the tallest guy in the world right now is 10 feet tall, and but that's what gigantism. That guy can barely move around when he was alive. I don't remember his name. Tallest guy in the world, 10 feet tall. I don't know. You can look it up. But he couldn't move. He could barely move at all. Gravity was literally killing him. That's what the Big Show says. The wrestler, the Big Show. He says gravity is literally going to kill him because he can barely move. He could move back whenever he was younger and he was able to get around more, but as he's gotten older, his body is he said it's just dying from the inside out. Because it's just his frame is just too big. It's too much. Andre the Giant's another one. They had gigantism. They weren't meant to be here because their bodies can't sustain it. I think that has something to do with oxygen levels. I think that has something to do with just the way the world is now. It's just everything has kind of shrunk down to a point, and I've said that before as well. I don't think we're getting better. I think we're getting worse. And that's just the second law of thermodynamics. It's as Jim Cornette would say, it's the law of diminishing returns. It's just because nothing ever gets better at this point. So, it's entirely possible. I mean, from Moses' standpoint, he would say yes, there were giants. I mean, maybe we still have that gene in us. I don't know. I doubt it. We're still making them every now and then, here and there. But I don't know. It's possible. It's very possible. But that's a thing. That's an absolute thing. Now, the sons of God, like I said, I'm gonna go with the theory that the sons of God were angels, because everything else kind of points that way. Let me get my handy dandy notebook out here. So the one thing he was saying, he was doubting giants, the sons of Seth, but where did the giants come from? Exactly. They could have been here before, but if they weren't here before, then how in the world do kissing cousins make 30-foot tall monsters? So, what else was in here? So if we're going to go with that, I had questions. I had serious questions, because the way that the guy presented it, he was saying that it couldn't be that way. It's not. They're not Nephilim. They're not angels breeding with men, because angels can't be physical. Angels can't. They can't come down and they can't mate. There's what's the line? The line I didn't write that one down too. It's one of the lines that whenever the Pharisees asked Jesus about the wife that marries 7 husbands, because each husband dies, and then the brother has to marry her in order to keep the family line running. Whose wife will she be when she dies and goes to heaven in the resurrection? And of course, Jesus says something like, "Well, you will be as the angels, where they neither marry or are not given in marriage," or whatever it is. And there's this nice debate going on about what marriage actually is. This guy literally actually said, you can't. The angels cannot participate in the God-given ceremony of marriage, so they cannot reproduce. And I was like, wow, man. I mean, if that's all marriage is, then what? How in the world did Adam and Eve ever get married? I don't think marriage is just a ceremony. Marriage is the coming together. of the man and a woman. That's the marriage. That's the bond. That's the bond. I don't know if I've talked about um, the scientists that are finding out that the DNA of the man and a woman, when the woman has a child from the man, her DNA changes because of the man's DNA, because the woman creates something inside of her that has the man's DNA and her DNA. Of course, the baby is both of theirs combined, but the woman takes on parts of the man's DNA as well. So she becomes a part of him, and then there's this energy loop that happens between them. I've experienced that energy several times when Angie's daughter and her husband and her granddaughter were in the room together, and it was an energy. You could feel it. It's this beautiful thing whenever they're together. That was her first kid too, because I've had it to where it was a first kid and it was another father and it was a second kid, and the energy didn't mesh because the woman had already had a baby with another guy, and then she had a baby with the second guy, and the energies just weren't there. You couldn't feel it. It wasn't right. But whenever the three of them were together, it was something. It was something beautiful. There's something there, especially when it's that first kid. So that's something. I think that's what the marriage is. I don't know. I'm not going to argue with it. You guys can have your own opinion about it, but I think that the line, the sons of God came down and took wives of all those. I think that's just coming down and just taking a woman and having kids. I think that's what it is. I don't think they came down, took their time to go and have the ceremony and, did the whole thing with the rings. And of course, they were Jewish back then. Well, they weren't even Jewish back then because there was no law back then. Whatever the heck they did pre-flood to be able to get married to these girls. I can see the angels coming down and going to the fathers and saying, "Oh, may I marry your daughter, please?" And then having to go through the whole week-long process. I don't see that happening. I don't think that's what this was all about. I think there was something else to this. It just when he said it, the angels can't have the ceremony. Man, that was just enough. I rolled my eyes so much. Anyways, so let's just go with that theory that angels came down and did it. But I had questions. Like I said, I just had these questions that came to mind. Let's see the way I had it, because I think I'm jumping all over the place. I really, really do think I'm jumping all over the place here. What's Numbers? Yeah, okay, I am jumping all over the place. Let me see. This was starting to tell. Okay, so I was trying to. One of the first questions I had was, how do kissing cousins create monsters, gigantic monsters? And I'm not talking about just 10-foot tall guys. I'm not just talking about gigantism dudes. I'm talking about 20-foot, 30-foot, 40-foot, big guys. Big, huge guys. How is it that they can create this kind of thing? Now again, they could very well have been that high, and we've shrank since then. I don't know. I mean, if Moses got this from the word of God, then this was God making sure that he knew that the word Nephilim, that this was a thing. Fallen ones? Okay, fine. Fallen ones. But if you believe that the translation was given to us by God into the King James Bible, you have to take giants as a word. Because this is the word of God. This is the Bible speaking for us. This is King James Version too. Everything I'm going by is King James. I still have issues with other translations, because there's just contradictions. Just absolutely blow me away, the contradictions. So, and I'm sure that'll probably somebody that has studied other translations could probably say, "What do you mean? There's contradiction?" There's contradictions. I've it's pretty nutty. It's actually pretty nutty. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not doing that right now. We're sticking with this. I'm just going to use King James. That's what I'm doing because I wanted to get to as close to the source as possible. I don't have like a Septuagint, and I don't have what's the other one? What's the one that the Greek one? I can't think of it right now. I can't think of the word, but I don't have those. I don't have those yet. I haven't read those yet. I'm still trying to figure this out. Maybe one of these days I'll figure it out and we'll go to it from there. So how big were these guys? So this is Numbers. This is Lord spake to Moses that send thou men that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of course, he sent of all the people. He sent all these guys out, and they went out to spy the land, and they came back. So they went up and searched the land from the wilderness of Zin unto Rehob, as men came to Hamath. And they ascended by the south and came unto Hebron, where, I'm not going to go through that, where Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, the children of Anak, were. Children of Anak. I have talked about the Anunnaki, the Anakai, the Anakim, the Anakim. The children of Anak are all big guys. And they came into the brook of Ishkal and cut down from thence a branch of one cluster of grapes, which normal grape size cluster of grapes is about this big. Yeah, it's about that big around. One cluster of grapes, which the children of Israel cut down from thence, and they returned from searching of the land after 40 days. And they went and came to Moses and Aaron, to all the congregation, and brought back word unto them, told him, We came unto the land whither thou sentest us. Surely it flowed with milk and honey. Is this not the one where they say that they... Oh, where did it go? Yeah, there it is. I skipped it. I'm sorry. And they came unto the brook of Eshcol and cut down from thence a branch with a cluster of grapes. Remember what I said. And they bare it between two upon a staff. And they brought of the pomegranates and of the figs. They bare it between two upon a staff. So this land is creating clusters of grapes that you have to carry on a staff. I don't have a staff. I don't have any kind of large... there's a thing over there, but I'm not going to get it. So they had to carry this thing between two people, between two guys. I don't have any visual aids. I can't do it. If I had some action figures, I'd totally do it. But this is a dude. This is a staff. They had to carry it between two guys. Just kind of put that in your head. They had to carry one cluster of grapes that I said was no bigger than my beard, between a staff, between two guys. This land was, I think, the last land, which some people have said it was the last part of the Garden of Eden. I think it was just the last untouched land that because it was in a valley, because they talked about it being the Valley of the Giants. I think possibly because it was down in the valley, it was one of the last really truly fertile places, probably surrounded by a bunch of trees, and it was probably just that kind of place, So just think about that for a second. These grapes were huge. These grapes were absolutely monstrous. And if that is still a place, if that's still a thing, I'm not saying it's still a place, but if that's still a thing, not now, but during the time of Moses, if that was still a thing, there you go. then the people there had to have been pretty big too. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. What do the guys say? Let's go find out. Because Clutch Grace was cut down. That's okay. Yeah. Came into the land that flowed with milk and honey. Of course, any land that flows with milk and honey, they say is very fertile. They say it's the land of plenty. Is the land of milk and honey. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. Moreover, we saw the children of Anak, Anakim, the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and by the coast of Jordan. Caleb stood the people before Moses and said, "Let us up." And of course, Caleb stood up and said, "Let's do it. Let's go overthrow it." The men went up with him, said, "We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are." They brought up an evil report of the land. They said, which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, "The land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof." Okay, so it's a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. First of all, they're cannibals, and all the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature. So they're big guys. They're big guys. He doesn't say how big, but he says they're big guys. And there we saw the giants. And there we saw the Nephilim. There we saw the giants. The sons of Anak, which come of the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. Now, the second thing that this guy said that really bothered the heck out of me was, you have to understand the poetic literature of the Bible. And I right before he said it, the first thing I said was, "Oh, here we go. He's going to talk about poetic wording." And sure enough, poetic wording. And I'm like, "Yep, there it is." Now, I'm not saying everything in the book is literal as literal as it is. He pulled out a reference that David was given hind legs the legs of the hind to be able to run fast or something like that. It's not like he was literally given hind's legs. Then again, who knows? I don't know. Since I've been on this journey, I've started saying, hell, anything's possible at this point. I don't know. But I'm not going to say that they look like literal grasshoppers. Let's do that. I'm not going to say they look like literal grasshoppers. But if somebody is so big to me that I say to somebody else, "This dude was so tall, I must look like a grasshopper to this guy." I'm not talking about some 8-foot tall dude. I'm not talking about a 10-foot tall dude. Because that's about the size of a grasshopper. Our little dude that helped us carry the big ass grapes. That's about the size that's a pretty big grasshopper too. I've seen him bigger than this. I've seen him way smaller than this too. If I came up on a guy and he was so big that I felt, oh, that's nice, that I felt this small, I have to use that language. I have to use that language to be able to say, man, this guy was big. And that guy was big, I'm not going to say that, hey, I was only 6 feet tall and this guy was 500 feet tall. But I am going to say, man, this guy was at least 20. I came up to a 4-story building, and I felt like a grasshopper next to that 4-story building. I came up to a 1-story house, and I just felt like a normal dude next to a 1-story house. Do you get it? You can take poetic literature all you want, but when you're trying to describe something, you're trying to describe something. Now, you want to do the whole evil report thing? You want to do the whole evil report thing? You can do the whole evil report thing. and they brought up an evil report of the land which they had. You can say that. They brought up an evil report. They were lying. They decided to lie in order to say they didn't want to go down and fight, because the next thing that happened was God smote these boys down, and everybody else that complained about going. It was an evil report. I don't know. You want to look that up? Wait, what was it? Numbers, which one? 13? Is it 13? Oh, crap, I just got rid of it. Son of a gun. Let's try it again. Numbers 13, KJV. I hate it when that happens. I do that so much, and I'm having problems with my internet. This may not even pop up. There's 13 Strongs. It's not going to pull up. This is why I didn't do this earlier, because as soon as I woke up, I came down here to try to do this, and my computer was doing this. It was being all slow and stupid. My internet's not slow. It's my computer. Something's up with my computer. The last big update that Windows 10 put on, it did the whole thing where it's been trying to bribe me into using Microsoft Edge. And I don't want to use Microsoft Edge. Google Chrome works great for me, but they've been pushing it. They've been pushing it heavy, and I'm thinking that this last update killed Google Chrome, because it has not been working right for me at all. I'm waiting for this to pop up. But they brought in evil reports. Yeah, let's go back down. And you can say it was an evil report all you want. I'm waiting for the Strong's Concordance to pop up so that we can look up that word, see what it was. And you can say that. You can say they were lying to do it, you know. Now, it doesn't make much sense, because God killed a lot of other people for believing in a lie. These guys brought an evil report of the land, and everybody that believed on them or believed them got killed with them. I don't know. You can go with that if you want. I mean, it's entirely possible. See, this thing is just taking forever. I don't think we're going to be able to look that up. So how else big were these guys? That may wind up popping in the background. Well, let's go look. Actually, he brought one up, which I thought was interesting, because I didn't even know. Actually, not him. It was when I went looking for giants in the Bible. They brought one up to me, and I didn't even know this was a thing. This is 2 Samuel 21. 2 Samuel 21. This is 21:18. This is about David. And the bones of Saul and Jonathan, his son, buried in the country. This was after the fight that Saul and Jonathan got killed. Philistines had yet war again with Israel, and David went down, and the servants with him and fought against the Philistines, and David waxed faint. And this is 16. And Ishbibenob, which was the sons of the giant, the weight of whose spear weighed 300 shekels of brass in weight, he being girded with a new sword, thought to have slain David. This isn't Goliath. This is this Ishbibenob, whatever. And of course, we know David and Goliath. Goliath with his 6 fingers and 6 toes. I think that might even be in. I may have. That's Bashan. I don't even have that. I bet you I got rid of that one too, like an idiot. Here we go. Let's see if I can actually do this. Go down. Brought up an evil report. I think it's this one. 1681. Look at this. This is what it's been doing all day. Waiting for cache. It's terrible. It's been terrible all day. I can't look it up, man. See, that's the problem here. I can't look it up because the stupid computer is being stupid. Let's see, because I know there was an actual. How tall was Goliath? Whose height was 6 cubits in a span? Okay. So cubits. Cubit was thought to be about 18 inches. 6 cubits in a span. 6 cubits in a span is 70. Ooh. I'm an idiot. 18 equals, okay, divided by 12. 9 feet is what they say. And actually, span is, I think they said half a cubit. So it's like 9'6" or something like that, 9.5 feet. Now, was he 9.5 feet? 9.5 feet's not bad. It's a 10-foot tall guy. It's not bad, but I don't know. We start getting into you start getting into Tartaria, and you start getting into the giants that used to exist, the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 feet guys that you find the bones of everywhere. And these guys had been alive right up until the 1800s. They were finding, or there are stories of the Native Americans where they talk about giant guys that were 14 feet tall that they had to kill. Lovelock Cave. Go look that up. Lovelock Cave, where a group of Indians were so tired of these 11 to 14 feet tall giants that would come and eat their children and eat their horses and eat their, they were so tired of them that they drove them back into this cave, and they set a fire in front of the cave, and all the giants that were inside of it died because of smoke inhalation. That's a story. And there's more than that. You get into the Indian burial mounds, and then you start going into the late 1800s where these guys were digging up these bones. And, like I said, you get into the Tartaria stuff, you get into the mud flood stuff, where something happened in the early 1800s that people in the late 1800s were starting to dig up all this stuff, all these bones. And they were starting to find out that something was happening, something was going on. And all of it got kind of, shuffled under the rug by the Smithsonian. So we have those reports, and it's not just a 9-foot tall guy. I don't think that the modern cubit, compares to the, ancient cubit. I think the ancient cubit is probably twice as long as the modern cubit, because I think the guys were bigger. That's what I think. I think they were bigger. I think Noah's Ark was bigger than it was, because everybody back then, I think, was bigger. That's just my opinion, and I'm just going by it. I don't think Goliath was 9-foot tall monster. I don't think so. I really don't. I think there was something else going on here. So it is what it is. Did we ever get this thing to pop up? No, we didn't. Look, it's still loading. What is this? What is going on with this? This is so ridiculous, man. It's been doing this all day. It's just like Google. I can pull one web page up, unless Bible Gateway is just such a strain on the computer, but I don't think it is. But unless it's that, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. So we're gonna get rid of that. We're not gonna do it. But anyways, this guy's spear weighed 300 shekels of brass. Can I even look up 300 shekels of brass? How much does 3,000 shekels of brass weigh? And it's going to take forever. So I'm just going to look it up on my phone, because that's just the way things are. How much does 300 shekels And I think I even did this on one of the other videos, because I know I did a couple of videos where that's all we talked about was giants. Of course, I love this. This says that 300 biblical shekels is only 7 pounds. Really? Really? Come on now. So a 7-pound spear? I don't think so, man. That doesn't sound right. Do you get what's going on here? I don't think the measurements. I think modern measurements are wrong. I've thought this for a long time now. When you look at the measurements that they had back in the day versus the measurements that we have now, you can just kind of see that nothing makes sense. You know, it doesn't jive. It doesn't add up right. And then of course you get the confusion of metric and imperial, which just throws everything out of the water, you know, but then you do stuff like this, biblical stuff like this, and it just doesn't add up. He was a son of a giant, and his spear weighed 7 pounds. Does that mean that the people that wrote the book were tiny people? They're like 4 foot tall people? Really? I don't believe that. I don't buy that. Again, I think the measurements have been intentionally screwed up so that we can't find the truth. Who knows? You know? Who knows? Get rid of that, because that's dead. How else big were these guys? Well, of course, you got King Og of Bashan, and it's hard to be able to know who King Og was inside of the Bible. If you tried to go outside of the Bible, you can find out a lot about King Og of Bashan. Go find that out. OG. He is the OG. King Og, or Og, as an ogre. But this says, for only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of the giants of the Nephilim. Actually, I think this one is the Rephaim. I don't know. Behold, his bedstead was a bedstead of iron. Is it not in Rabbath of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length thereof, and 4 cubits the breadth thereof, after the cubit of a man. And I think this was something like 14 feet by 9 feet. 13 feet, 14 feet by 9 feet. And of course, this guy that I was watching the video of, he was saying, well, Og was a king. Don't kings have bigger beds than they should have? Okay. By that logic, you're absolutely correct. It was a kingly sized bed. But why did they go out of their way? Why did Moses go out of his way to tell us that this was a bed made of iron? If he was a king, why wasn't his bed made of gold? But his bed was made of iron in order to be able to hold him up, because he had some girth on him. Girth. and he went out of his way to describe these lengths. And again, the cubit then, I don't think was the cubit now. You know, Moses was probably a big dude too. There's no way to tell, though. That's the problem. It's the same way with skin color. There's no way to tell what skin color these guys were, unless you really dig into the book and you find out that they were probably all black. But there's no way to tell how big these guys were. So the cubit of a man, again, if a man was bigger than they are now, you know, the average elbow to wrist that they use for a cubit would probably be another foot out, 2.5 feet. You know, it'd be pretty big. 18 inches would become 30 inches. Hell, it could be 33 inches. Think about that for a second. Think about that for a second. 33 inches. Maybe that's why they use the number. You never know. Anyways, I'm losing my mind here. I don't even know how much time we've been doing this. But they went out of their way to describe how big this thing was. And That's just, let me do the math on it. I'll do the math on it. Why not? While we're here, let's do the math on it. 9 by 4. Let's just do 9 by... We're going to do 30 inches. 9 by 12. Guy was 22 feet tall. 22 and a half feet tall. Take away a foot at the head of the bed and take away a foot at the feet of the bed. This guy was 20 feet tall. At a 30-inch cubit, guy was 20 feet tall. Now, even if he wasn't, now the guy was saying, what did I say it was? 9 times 18. Oh, that's 13 and a half feet. The bed was 13 and a half feet long. I don't think you need a foot on either end. You don't. I don't sleep a foot down from the wall or the headboard. I would say I would give it 6 inches. So it's a half. So this guy was maybe 12 and a half feet tall. By their standards, 12 and a half feet tall with an iron bed. This guy was big. This guy was pretty big. That's with his feet not hanging over the edge of the bed. Guy was pretty big. So, either way, he was either 12 feet tall or 20 feet tall. There's other books that say that he was about a mile tall, but we can't use those because, we're not doing other books. We're just sticking with the Bible. So they were talking about some big boys, they're talking about some big boys, and I'm trying not to read too much into these. I'm just going by what we know in the real world and what we know in the book, and why they went out of their way to describe these things in the book. How else big were they? Well, I found this one. This was one that he actually said. This is another one of those poetic literature. Amos 2. I was just there. Where'd it go? Oh. Amos 2:9. Yet destroyed I the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars, and he was strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above and his roots from beneath. His height was like the height of the cedars. Now, I'm going to get serious with you again. I never met a guy. My good buddy Robbie, his dad, Big Bob. I think Big Bob was like 6'7", 6'8". Robbie could probably correct me in the comments. I never looked at Big Bob and said, "Man, you are as big as a cedar." I never once said that. I never said I looked like a grasshopper in his eyes either. Well, maybe that one time whenever I fell on my ass. I don't know. But I never would have looked at him and said, "Man, you're as tall as a cedar tree." And I know 6'7" is not 12, 20 feet. But you know what I'm saying. If you're going to use that kind of poetic literature, you're really describing something pretty big. You're not just half-assing Andre the Giant. You're not exaggerating Andre the Giant. You're really describing something. The height of the cedars. Now I looked it up. The height of a standard cedar tree nowadays is something like 100 to 130 feet. I think it's what it is. Some people have said 80. On the high end, I think it's like 150. 150 feet. 150 feet on the high end as the height of the cedar trees. Now again, oxygen-rich environment. These guys might have been tall. These guys might have absolutely been tall. I don't know. It's really hard to figure that out. The other thing that got me on that too was this guy was saying, the giants were on the earth in those days, and also after that when the sons of God. So the giants were there before, and the giants were there after. But then the flood killed everything. The flood killed all this, everything. It was Noah and his wives and yada, yada, yada. So that means that somewhere on the other side of the flood, their children started creating giants again. So is it, if it's because of the sins of Seth, the fall of Seth, the fallen of the line of Seth, if it's because of the sins of Seth that we create giants, why aren't we creating giants now? Yes, we're creating 6-foot tall guys. Yes, we're creating 7-foot tall guys. But they're still big, lanky guys that just can't bulk up. They can't. I think what's the one guy that you can think that's like 7 foot tall that can bulk? Shaq? Was he like 7'3"? And he's bulked up. He's a big dude. He can bulk up and he can move. But why aren't there more? Because sin is rampant in the world. This is not the sin of Seth that's creating these monsters. This is something else. There's something else going on here. I lost my train of thought. But, I mean, seriously, though, the flood supposedly killed everything. And I have a hard time with the flood, too, trying to figure out, where did the evil go? And then how did they find it again on the other side? Because apparently what must have happened was the daughters of Noah, or maybe even the sons of Noah, had to have gone back to the places where these people were, found that information, and reused it. Unless it was angels coming down a second time, giving them that information. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. I don't know. You could do the whole thing where you say that, the daughters that they took for Noah's sons they had the gene in them. But then you have to believe that something else came down and did it, unless you want to do the serpent seed thing. And I don't. If you do the serpent seed thing, then your poetic literature inside of the Bible really goes through the roof. Because it's very, very poetic to say she took a bite from the fruit and it turned into she was having sex with a snake. You get that? That's very, very poetic. And that kind of knocks down every domino afterwards about what happened. There's something far more spiritual going on there. I can't believe that it was them having sex with a snake. There's guys out there that say that Adam had sex with a snake too. That's where homosexuality started. What in the heck is going on there? It just blows my mind. We're an hour into this. It's going long. So be warned. You can stop it now if you want to. This is a good break. I wonder if I should do this wonder if I should stop it now and then pick it up. Think I should do that? Like, this is a little bite-sized hour-long thing you guys can watch, and then you guys can come back, watch the second one. I think I would do that. Let's do that. Let's stop. That way I can reset. I can get up. I need to turn the fan on because I'm starting to get hot and worked up. So I will try to keep my mind on what's going on. I will keep everything the way it is. We'll come right back into it. And that way you guys don't have to have a monster thing. I'll upload them back to back so you'll be able to watch them both if you want to. But this way, you don't have to put up with it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Like I said, we'll do a part 2. That way it'll be nice and easy, bite size. Because I hate doing 2-hour-long monsters. I really do. So I'll see you then. God bless. Yada yada yada. No, God bless. I love you guys. Seriously. I'll see you here in a little bit.